my own. I wore this when I won the Golden Pumps for the Gay Gordon.
When Are You Being Served first aired on BBC One in 1972, few could have predicted that the quirky sitcom, set in the fictional Grace Brothers department store, would become one of Britain's most enduring and internationally recognized comedies. Created by Jeremy Lloyd and David Croft, the series ran for 10 seasons until 1985, followed by a spin-off series, Grace and Favour, known as Are You Being Served Again in the US, and a feature film. Its influence on British television comedy is undeniable, and its legacy, though now the subject of renewed scrutiny, remains a rich part of the UK's comedic heritage. A department store like no other.
Tonight is the first time you've been free, if you know what I mean, for a long time. You've been working very hard.
Yes, that's true, yes.
Doing what?
Set entirely within the walls of a somewhat antiquated London department store, Are You Being Served revolved around the staff on the clothing floor. The series leaned heavily into workplace satire, social hierarchy, and innuendo-driven humor. From the perpetually befuddled store owner to the various floor managers, sales staff, and maintenance workers, the show presented a microcosm of British society, one that viewers found both familiar and absurd. The ensemble cast was key to the show's success. Each character was distinct and memorable. Captain Captain Peacock, the floor walker, was pompous and self-important. Miss Betty Slocombe was the head of ladies' wear, famous for her brightly colored hair and frequent references to her pussy, her cat of course. Miss Shirley Brahms was the young and stylish junior in the ladies' wear department, known for her Cockney accent and flirtatiousness. Mr. Cuthbert Rumbold, the hapless manager, was forever struggling to assert control. Young Mr. Grace, the daughtery owner, added to the comedic absurdity of the store's management structure. And then, of course, there was Mr. Wilberforce Claiborne Humphries, a flamboyant, camp, and quick-witted junior in the men's department, whose catchphrase, "I'm free," became iconic. The appeal of innuendo and slapstick.
John, how did you get your break into television? How did you get recruited for Are You Being Served?
Well, now, a lovely man called David Croft, who co-wrote Are You Being Served and directed it. I had worked for several times, playing little bits on television in sitcoms, and I was always covered up. I always had a moustache and glasses and a flat cap. And I played things like removal men, you know. I'd arrive at somebody's door with a wardrobe under my arm and say, "Where do you want it, missus?"
The humor of Are You Being Served was rooted in double entendres, exaggerated class dynamics, and broad farce. It wasn't unusual for a single episode to contain jokes about Mrs. Slocombe's pussy, a misplaced brassiere, or some misunderstanding involving a customer's undergarments. The department store setting provided endless opportunities for misunderstandings, costume changes, and chaotic sales promotions, all ripe for comedy. For many viewers, the series' appeal lay in its predictability and comfort. While modern sitcoms often rely on character development and realism, Are You Being Served thrived on the formulaic. The humor was sometimes groan-inducing, but reliably so, and the chemistry between the cast made each punchline land just right. Though on the surface it seemed like a traditionalist comedy, Are You Being Served did something quite revolutionary for its time by including a character like Mr. Humphries. In an era when homosexuality was still largely taboo on mainstream television, homosexual acts had only been decriminalized in England and Wales in 1967, the character's camp mannerisms and winking references to his personal life stood out. Though his sexuality was never explicitly stated, Mr. Humphries was unmistakably coded as a gay man, making him one of the earliest recurring characters of his kind on British television. John Inman's portrayal was a defining feature of the show. He gave Mr. Humphries a physicality that bordered on pantomime, with quick asides, expressive hand gestures, and suggestive looks that made him a favorite with audiences in the UK and abroad. In fact, Mr. Humphries became a beloved figure in many parts of the world, particularly in the United States, Australia, and Canada, where Are You Being Served found a loyal fanbase through syndication. Yet even at the time, Mr. Humphries was a source of some controversy. While many viewers found him funny and endearing, others criticized the character as a stereotype that lacked depth or nuance. John Inman himself insisted the character was not necessarily gay, but simply a mother's boy, a statement that, while diplomatically evasive, likely reflected the constraints placed on actors and writers in the 1970s. Despite, or perhaps because of, its unapologetic reliance on stereotypes and innuendo, Are You Being Served became a cultural phenomenon. The show's success led to international adaptations, including an Australian version, a 1977 feature film, and even merchandise. Its popularity endured well after the original run ended. Reruns on BBC and other networks such as UK TV Gold and PBS in the US kept the show in the public consciousness for decades. In the early 2000s, it was still a staple of late-night TV in many countries, particularly as a nostalgic escape into a Britain of bowler hats, tea breaks, and chaotic but lovable store clerks. The show's influence can also be seen in later workplace comedies such as The Office and The IT Crowd, both of which feature eccentric coworkers, dated management practices, and uncomfortable interactions with the public. Cultural shifts and re-evaluation.
Well, John Inman, this is your life, and it's the story of a one-time assistant and a gents outfitters in Blackpool who's won the popularity of millions by playing the part of a fictional gents outfitter, Mr. Humphries, in the BBC comedy series Are You Being Served?
In recent years, however, Are You Being Served has come under increased scrutiny. As societal attitudes towards gender, sexuality, and diversity have evolved, so too has the way audiences view older television programs. What was once considered harmless or cheeky is now, in some cases, being reevaluated through a more critical lens. Central to this is the reevaluation of the character of Mr. Humphries. While still adored by many, others have argued the portrayal, camp, effeminate, and lacking a personal life beyond the innuendo, feeds into harmful stereotypes about gay men. The concern is that rather than offering genuine representation, Mr. Humphries simply reinforces the notion of the gay man as comic relief, divorced from any real emotional depth or identity beyond his mannerisms. This has led to a situation where several broadcasters have opted not to air reruns of Are You Being Served, or have moved the show to late-night slots. Some digital channels that once featured the series regularly have quietly dropped it from their schedules, in part due to complaints about the stereotyping of Mr. Humphries. While the BBC itself has not issued a blanket ban, the trend points to a broader caution within broadcasting when dealing with legacy content that no longer aligns with modern values. The decision to limit or cease reruns has sparked a lively public debate. On one side are those who argue it's important to acknowledge that society has changed, and that outdated portrayals, however beloved, should not be celebrated without context. They contend the show's humor, which relies so heavily on stereotypes of women, gay men, and the working class, reflects an era that we should strive to move beyond. On the other side are fans and cultural commentators who view the show as a product of its time and feel it should be judged accordingly. They point out that Mr. Humphries, while clearly a stereotype, was also one of the few recognizable gay characters on TV during the 70s and early 80s. For many LGBTQ+ viewers, he was a welcome, even empowering presence in a media landscape that otherwise ignored or demonized them. Others argue that removing the show entirely is a step too far, and that there's value in preserving and contextualizing old media rather than erasing it. They suggest that disclaimers or introductory commentary, similar to how some streaming platforms handle racially insensitive content in older films, could allow viewers to make informed decisions without censorship. Despite the current controversies, the legacy of Are You Being Served remains secure. It holds a special place in the annals of British television, not just as a successful sitcom, but as a cultural time capsule. The world of Grace Brothers, with its outdated customs, exaggerated personalities, and endless misunderstandings, offers a humorous glimpse into the British psyche of a bygone era. In the end, Are You Being Served is a show that continues to provoke laughter, nostalgia, and now reflection. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think the cancellation of Are You Being Served was a sensible decision? Let us know in the comments section below.